Good morning, everybody. You're watching our mid-morning edition of Arirang News on this Thursday, August 20th. Coming to you live from our studio in Seoul, I'm Si Se-min. Before we get started, these are the stories we're following at the top of the hour. South Korea adds almost 300 new coronavirus cases on Wednesday alone, the sixth day of triple-digit figures. Local authorities are coming out hard, pushing for compensation suits against anyone trying to disturb screening tests. Doctors in South Korea are pushing forward with a nationwide strike next week despite the aggressive surge in COVID-19 cases. The differences between the Doctors Association and the Health Ministry over training new doctors remains unchanged. Writing history again. Apple becomes the first American company to hit a market cap of $2 trillion. The tech giant reached its first $1 trillion mark 2 years ago as the first publicly traded U.S. company to reach that milestone. Our top story this morning, clocking in at nearly 300, South Korea on Wednesday alone recorded the highest daily rise in COVID-19 cases since early March. Most of them stem from a church in northern part of capital Seoul, but smaller outbreaks are also popping up elsewhere across the country. And cautious of the sharp uptick, the government is highlighting the importance of active public cooperation and practicing social distancing measures. Our Jong-un explains.
Following large-scale cluster infections linked to the Shincheonji religious group that swept through South Korea's southeastern city of Daegu back in February, the country is dealing with yet another outbreak of this nature, this time in the highly populated capital city of Seoul. Over the past few days, the country has seen a notable surge in cases linked to Sarangjil Church in the Seongbuk-gu district. On Wednesday alone, 166 newly confirmed patients are connected to the church, making a total of 623. The number is expected to grow too due to multiple secondary transmissions at call centers, nursing hospitals, and even other churches.
As of 6 p.m. Tuesday, among the 114 facilities that are connected to the newly confirmed patients, 50 secondary transmissions have been confirmed in 11 different places.
Group transmissions are also popping up at several offices within Seoul, including at City Hall. With that, Seoul and the surrounding area accounts for nearly 90% of Wednesday's cases. However, new transmissions have also spread to 13 other cities and provinces. The government says this week will be a milestone in getting the situation under control, stressing the importance of the role people play.
The government is putting its utmost efforts into containment, but the citizens' cooperation is desperately needed. Contact tracing and quarantine measures alone are not enough. Social distancing can reduce the range and pace of the spread.
To prevent any new source of infections, the government has also urged people to refrain from visiting beaches. Already, of more than 250 beaches nationwide, 107 have been shut down. The rest are scheduled to close by the end of the month. Jong-un, Arirang News.
South Korea's Ministry of Health and Welfare has failed to reach consensus with the Korean Medical Association again in regards to expanding the number of students in med schools. As a result, doctors will push ahead with yet another nationwide strike next week. Our Hong-Yu reports.
Tens of thousands of doctors in South Korea will proceed with a second nationwide strike next Wednesday. The strike set for 3 days is in protest to the government's plan to increase the number of students admitted to medical school. The decision comes as they failed to reach consensus with the health ministry after 2 hours of talks. The ministry said it will continue to request communication, but the doctors are reluctant to keep talking. As the country is currently experiencing a second wave of COVID-19, there's likely to be increased public anxiety over the lack of doctors on duty. The Korean Medical Association made it clear that they would only resume talks when the government scraps its new medical workforce program. The plan is to expand admission quotas at medical schools by 4,000 over the next 10 years, starting in 2022, and to open a new public medical school. Health Minister Bang Neung-hoo told reporters after the meeting that they did not discuss scrapping the number of admission quotas, adding they're trying to discuss other options. He added the ministry has requested that the association form a consultative group to further proceed with negotiations. Doctors say the government must accept that it failed to cooperate with them in the process of drawing up a new medical policy. The doctors say it's only then that they will be willing to resume talks with the government. Hong-yu, Arirang News.
The South Korean government is to increase next year's budget by almost $17 billion to realize its so-called New Deal project, aimed at achieving future economic growth by providing aid to digital startup firms. That is on top of the already designated funds for the New Deal project this year, which were included in the third COVID-19 supplementary budget. Finance Minister Hong Nam-gi said this morning that the government will also speed up reforms of the current New Deal projects. And the projects are aimed at laying the groundwork for economic growth in the long run while cushioning the economic blow from the COVID-19 pandemic. Restaurant owners in South Korea are feeling the pinch due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The Korea Food Service Industry Research Institute published a report on Thursday, which said restaurant owners lost an average of $2,500 in profits in May compared to the same month last year. Average sales plunged nearly 50% on year from an average of $12,300 to $6,600. The institute said there is an urgent need to promote eating out, such as providing cash that the public can use in restaurants. It also added that direct supports such as tax breaks, rent reductions, and financial aid to support labor costs are essential to prevent mass closures and huge job losses. And as the mercury soars across South Korea, the number of heat-related illnesses, including heat exhaustions and sunstroke, are also on the rise as everyone feels hot under their colors. Our Kim Hyo-sun tells us more.
After a record-long monsoon season that lasted for 54 days, a scorching heat wave is gripping South Korea. The mercury hit 38 degrees Celsius on Wednesday in the middle of the day in parts of the country, with heat wave advisories and warnings issued across South Korea.
An incoming high-pressure system from the northern Pacific Ocean will lead to continued scorching heat.
The sizzling temperatures have also led to a surge in the number of heat-related illnesses, such as heat exhaustion and sunstroke. A total of 742 cases of illnesses related to hot weather have been reported between May 20th and August 18th, with 3 fatalities. While this is a significant drop compared to last year, the daily number of heat-related illnesses over the past several days has doubled or even quadrupled on year.
Due to the long monsoon season, temperatures were lower than previous years in July and early August. It looks like we are not prepared for a sudden surge in temperatures.
Health officials highlight that most of the cases involve people working in fields and moving around outdoors, advising the public to rest in the shade and to drink lots of water. The hot weather is expected to last until this weekend, with torrential rainfall forecast for most of the country next week. Kim Hyo-sun, Arirang News.
And now to the latest out of North Korea. A major 5-year economic development plan will be announced by the regime's leader Kim Jong-un during the upcoming Workers' Party Congress set for January of 2021. North Korea's state-run mouthpiece, the Korea Central News Agency, reported this morning that its leader Kim announced the plan on Wednesday during a plenary meeting of the party's Central Committee. The Workers' Party also admitted the regime's planned economic projects are falling behind due to intense internal and external circumstances. And as a result, it said it had failed to clearly improve the livelihoods of the North Korean people. And with the Congress coming shortly after the U.S. presidential election in November, eyes are on to see how Pyongyang would roll out its diplomacy with Washington going forward. Apple hit a market cap of $2 trillion on Wednesday, doubling in valuation in just over 2 years to become the first publicly traded U.S. company to achieve that feat. Apple broke the barrier when its share price rose to almost $468 based on a share count of nearly 4.3 billion. And the New York Times said it took the iPhone maker 42 years to reach a $1 trillion market cap on August of 2018. It also noted that Apple hit the new milestone despite the global economy shrinking faster than ever due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And staying in the U.S., the third night of the Democratic National Convention began just moments ago with Joe Biden's running mate Kamala Harris set to receive the Democratic vice presidential nomination. Also, former U.S. President Barack Obama and 2016 Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton will also be delivering their speeches. Our Kim Jae-hee tells us more.
On the third night of the four-night Democratic National Convention, Joe Biden's running mate Kamala Harris is set to be officially nominated as Democratic vice presidential nominee. Former President Barack Obama, 2016 Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton, and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi will also be addressing the convention on Wednesday. In a preview released by convention organizers, former U.S. President Barack Obama portrays President Donald Trump as a catastrophically ineffective leader who has used the office only to benefit himself and his friends. He also says Trump hasn't grown into the job because he can't, and that the consequences of his failure have been severe. Hillary Clinton is to reflect on our loss in 2016 and urge Americans to, quote, vote like our lives are on the line. On the second night of the convention on Tuesday, Joe Biden was officially nominated as Democratic nominee for the upcoming U.S. presidential election. The second night of the convention also featured a virtual roll call vote, where Biden secured 3,558 delegate votes, and Senator Bernie Sanders received 1,151 votes. Reuters polls released on Wednesday showed Joe Biden leads Trump in support among registered voters by 8 percentage points. Even several Republicans have shown Biden their support, including former Secretary of State Colin Powell and wife of the late Senator John McCain. Meanwhile, the White House on Wednesday has declined to say whether U.S. President Donald Trump will accept the election results if he loses. With President Trump closing in on Biden in the latest CNN poll, watchers now look to Biden's acceptance speech on Thursday to see if he'll give him the bump he needs. Kim Jae-hee, Arirang News.
The U.S. has terminated or suspended 3 bilateral agreements, including extradition and tax exemptions with Hong Kong. The U.S. State Department said in a statement on Wednesday that this comes in response to China's imposition of a national security law that threatens the freedom of Hong Kong's people. Now, the agreement stops the surrender of fugitive offenders, the transfers of sentenced persons, and reciprocal tax exemptions on income derived from the international operation of ships. The move follows President Trump's order last month to end special trade and commercial privileges given to Hong Kong under U.S. law in retaliation to China enforcing the new security law.
Good morning. Korea is in the grip of blistering heat with heat wave alerts in place across much of the country. But parts of the East Coast will get some relief. In fact, Sokcho in Gangwon province will notice much lower daytime highs this afternoon. But uncomfortable conditions continue through the night for most parts, and it is hard to get good quality sleep these days. Well, here are some tips to help you out if you're tossing and turning. One thing though, many health experts say taking a lukewarm shower makes it easier for your body to reach an optimal pre-sleeping temperature. It's going to be hotter today under dazzling sunshine, hovering in the mid to upper 30s across the country, Seoul topping out at 34 degrees Celsius. While the heat will stay stuck on extra high for the remainder of August for most of South Korea. The capital region will see rain from time to time, but there will be nothing but sunshine in the south with highs nearing 35 degrees Celsius over in Daegu. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the weather conditions around the world.
Before we go, I have the latest on the COVID-19 situation here in South Korea. Moments ago, local authorities here in the country has confirmed that South Korea added a total of 288 new COVID-19 cases on Wednesday alone, another day of triple-digit growth here in the country. Now, let me say that again. South Korea added a total of 288 new coronavirus cases on Wednesday, of which 276 being local transmission. Add that all up, the country has added a total of 1,391 new cases in the past week alone. Definitely a sign that the curve is back up here in South Korea. Now that wraps up for us at this hour on Arirang News, but we'll be back with more of the day's headlines coming up at noon Korea time, so do stay close. Thanks for watching and goodbye.